So our third reader for tonight has a really amazing bio. Her writing has appeared in journals such as Canopic Jar, River Sedge, The Best of Vine Leaves Literary Journal, Red Savina Reviews, Southwestern American Literature, and many other literary journals. She's a Pushcart Prize nominee and a finalist in Split Lip Press's Turnbuckle Chapbook Contest, as well as in contests from New Delta Review, Brain Mill Press, and the Summer Literary Seminars Contest, to name a few. She's been awarded numerous writing residencies at the Vermont Studio Centre, Rancho Linda Vista Arts Community, Starry Night Retreat Artist Residency, and also a grant from the Barbara Deeming Memorial Fund. She's both an alum of the BA and MFA programs here, and I first met her a pretty long time ago, and she's one of those writers who I still remember the first thing I ever read of hers, probably at least 10 years ago. It's the kind of work that you never forget. It was just full of these images that are so luminous they stay in your mind forever. And she's had a really amazing past life as a dancer, an actor, and a painter in New York City and Mexico City. And maybe one of the most amazing things about her is she, well, no, not one of the most amazing things. A thing I find amazing about her is she got to hang out with Michelangelo Antonioni when he was filming Zabriskie Point out in Death Valley, and with Angela Davis and the Black Panthers. And so she's currently working on a memoir, but tonight we're celebrating the release of her first novella, Edna and Luna, from Vine Leaves Press. So please give a warm, warm welcome to the wonderful Glia Powers.
Thank you, Alistair. Boy, that sounds so impressive. Somebody else is reading it. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know many of us have been having a difficult time. I started writing Edna and Luna when I was in the MFA program here at Antioch, so it's perfect that I'm here reading from the book for the first time. I'm going to read a little bit from the first chapter and a little bit from the second chapter, and then a section a little further into the book. In the meat section of Bayless Market, Edna Harwood picked up a shrink-wrapped New York steak, and her uterus cramped. Except she wasn't sure exactly where her uterus was. She thought the pain could be coming from the bottom of her stomach or her intestines. The aching reminded her of how it had felt years ago when she'd had a miscarriage. The doctor assured her it wasn't her fault and she should try again. Nature knows best, he'd said. It might have been deformed. She leaned her hips against the meat counter. The coolness seeped through the thin cotton fabric of her slacks. Recalling an article she'd read in Reader's Digest about how to breathe to relieve anxiety and pain, she took a deep breath, exhaled slowly through her mouth. Ordinarily, Edna didn't go in for that kind of thing. She thought the idea was too simplistic, a bunch of crap, really. But she had nothing to lose. She did 3 more rounds of breath, and it seemed to help. Edna laid the steak back on top of the neatly stacked slabs. Hank was the one who'd loved a good piece of meat. When they first got married, every market had a butcher. Nothing was shrink-wrapped. And you could see both sides of a filet mignon, a New York strip, or a ribeye. She wheeled her cart to the chicken cooler, and after scrutinizing the size, weight, date, and price, chose a 3-pack of breasts. She shivered and buttoned up her cardigan, fingering the Christmas tree pin embedded with tiny emeralds and rubies, a birthday gift from Hank that anchored over her heart. Once Edna pinned something to a garment, she tended to leave it there. The temperature outside was 110 degrees, but the air conditioning in Phoenix was so cold that on her weekly outing to the market and Rose's beauty shop, when she drove her Cadillac 4 blocks to the strip mall on the corner of Bethany Home Road and 7th Avenue, she had to remember to take a sweater. Edna carried a sturdy white handbag with a noisy clasp that hung from a strap too short for her shoulder and too long for her wrist in the crook of her arm. She had a black one for what passed as wintertime in Phoenix. She'd had 50 pocketbooks back in Chicago with hats to match, hats with veils and feathers and little gold chains that hung slightly over her eye. But that was when Hank was alive, and there were places to go that required a hat. Luna McLaren arrived in Phoenix with her dog Tula, a half-breed Australian shepherd, with one blue eye, one brown, her belongings in a U-Haul trailer hitched to the back of her 10-year-old Honda station wagon, and the name and address of a man named Daryl, written on the back of a faded fortune cookie prediction in her purse. She could still make out the words beloved and roomy. Daryl ran the Papago Trailer Park on McDowell Road. Luna tapped on his screen door with the front of her cast-iron goddess ring. The door had a missing hinge, and when she knocked, it swung toward her at a crooked angle and creaked. Daryl, in his bare feet, chewing on a toothpick, emerged from the darkness. A television hummed in the background. "Are you Daryl?" "Hey, just a second." He closed the door. Luna looked down at the tattered Bronco Rider welcome mat and noticed a turtle the size of her foot ambling toward the door. When Daryl returned, he was wearing 3-inch-high snakeskin cowboy boots. "Come on in, that's Jake. He's waiting for his bath." "I'm Luna, a friend of Bill's from Wickenburg. Can I bring my dog in?" "Sure, good old Bill. How's he getting along up there?" Daryl's trailer smelled of cabbage and marijuana. "Have a seat," he said, motioning to the kitchen table. The chair seats were covered with what looked like placemats encased in yellowed plastic made from old maps of Arizona. Luna sat down and crossed her legs. Daryl looked at her ankle. "Nice bracelet." "Bill said you might have a trailer I can rent." Daryl led Luna outside. "Yep," he said, "a place just opened up 2 days ago. There's 2 rows of trailers, the Yavapai section and the other where you'll be, the Yaqui side, named for the Indians, you know." The dry, empty heat singed Luna's pale scalp. Daryl stopped at the end of the Yaqui section where an old light blue trailer, a teardrop he called it, was parked behind a small cactus garden. "You'll need a VAP," he said. "A what?" "A VAP cooler. I got an old one, needs cleaning, but it works. You can have it for $25. "I'll take it, and the trailer, how much?" "For a friend of Bill's, I let it go for $300 a month." They spent the rest of the afternoon at Daryl's place, drinking beer, eating blue lime-soaked corn chips, and watching the talk shows on the fake zebra fur couch. When Daryl switched the channel and the topless maids came on, he said, "Wow, look at that. That's really something." Whenever a hard penis came Luna's way, that was a signal for her. She felt funny if she didn't do something. She usually enjoyed it. They left the TV and their clothes on. They didn't speak or kiss. She raised up her thin cotton squaw skirt with the pink and green arrowhead print and turned onto her back. Afterwards, Luna said, "Hey, Daryl, did you know that the word squaw means vagina?" He got up, zipped his pants, and said, "I'll go get that VAP." Outside her new home, Luna opened the U-Haul. Bill had arranged the boxes in neat rows according to size. At twilight, the temperature dropped. Heat from the day sucked up into black asphalt, softened the uneven edges of the driveway. Crickets began to chirp. Luna breathed in the quiet desert air as the sun slid behind a small grove of palm trees behind the Yaqui section of the Papago Trailer Park. Edna wasn't sure how a widow was supposed to act, so she copied other women she saw in the market, alone, with their brave bone postures, wearing fake smiles, too much rouge and eyeliner, flowered sundresses, their wrinkled cleavage and flabby arms showing, balancing themselves on high-heeled, strappy sandals they'd gotten too old to walk in. The sad ones tried to get sympathy by asking the bag boys for help when they didn't need it. After experimenting wearing an appropriate amount of rouge, Edna found that one or both of these acts worked well in public, depending on the situation. Sometimes she felt confused about how she wanted to be treated. Even if she wasn't in the mood for sympathy, it seemed the older she got, the more younger people talked to her in a sing-song, patronizing tone, like she was a child or a small pet. One day, in the fruit section of the market, as Edna sniffed one lemon after another, testing for sweetness, an unkept woman came up beside her and began moving her hands through the air over the pink grapefruits. Her nails were dirty and the joints of her fingers knobby. Edna had read that was from too much knuckle cracking. The woman wore a big silver ring with a protruding milky white stone held in place with star-shaped prongs. Edna had seen her in the market before, but not this close up. Suddenly, she felt another twinge in her pelvis and dropped her bag of lemons. She tried the breathing exercise, but it didn't work. Edna put her hand over her belly and said to the cramp, "Knock it off." "Were you talking to me?" The tall, wiry woman's stringy blonde hair hung over the sides of her face, and her nipples showed through her flimsy top. "No, I wasn't." "Am I in your way? I was just checking to see which of these grapefruits wanted to go home with me." The woman told Edna she'd just moved to town and was scouting the markets to see where she best resonated with the food. "Are you okay? I noticed you were holding your stomach." "I'm fine." Edna snapped a plastic bag off the roll above her head. "Are you sure you don't need some help? I could at least pick out some lemons for you. I just need to touch your arm so I can feel your energy." "No, thank you." Edna pulled her shoulders back. "I love that you're wearing a Christmas tree in the summertime. I do that, leave my tree up all year long." "If you must know, it has nothing to do with Christmas. It just so happens December 25th is my birthday. This is a birthday pin." "Ah, born on the cusp of prophecy. You're very independent." The woman pushed her hair behind her ears, revealing silver and turquoise earrings in the shape of little faces. "What?" "But you have a tendency to be isolated and withdrawn. You don't care if people like you, which gives you a lot of freedom." Edna had no idea what the woman was talking about. She was tired of feeling obligated to speak and exchange smiles with strangers. When she was young, men she didn't know would come right up to her on a street corner and say, "Smile, honey, it can't be all that bad." What if a loved one had just died? Why couldn't they stand to see an unsmiling woman? Now that she was older and a widow, Edna realized she could get away with things, like bumping into people who were in her way, or stepping on their feet and then pretending she'd lost her balance, which she decided to do with the barefooted woman in front of her. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt you?" "It's okay." The woman picked up her foot and began massaging her big toe. "I understand where you're coming from." "What? It was an accident." Edna spun her cart around and headed to liquor for her usual half-gallon of ancient age. Before checking out, she picked up some frozen dinners and a Sara Lee fudge cake. Thank God, 2 people came up behind her in line before the grapefruit woman got there.